Okay, right, it's time to take a look at what's going on in the UFC this week. I feel like I'm a little bit out of practice because there was no casuals guide last week. There were no UFC fights on, so I decided to have a break. I've been a bit under the weather lately. I don't know, it's just very low energy. It's why this video is late, incidentally. Just didn't have the energy to do it last night, which is rare. That's very rare for me. Who knows? Maybe I'm depressed. I don't know. It's like life's just depressed. Life's a bit much, isn't it? Anyway. It's time to focus on the fight. So this is what I like to call a casuals guide. By the way, I'm Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker. Mostly focused on mixed martial arts, all kinds of other sports, so check out the channel. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there. This in particular is a casuals guide. It's designed so that I go through the entire fight card from start to finish. There's information on every fighter, every single fight, and I do it in around 15 to 20 minutes, so you haven't got to spend all day researching the fight card. I do all of that for you because sometimes you'll miss out on some absolute gems of fights. If you're a mixed martial arts fan, you might just not know that there's a couple of guys that are going to have really good tear-ups that you might miss out on. And yeah, so it's just designed so that when you watch the event on Saturday night, you're armed with a little bit more information, so you get maximum enjoyment out of the card, and you know, you have more information for, you know, bets if you want to make those. I do terrible bets, that's on a Saturday, so check that out on the channel as well. But let's get cracking for UFC Austin, coming our way this Saturday. So we're going to start off, this is an amazing card, by the way. Like, just, they've snuck a really good card in for a fight night. You've got Miesha Tate on here. You've got Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. You've got Jalen Turner versus Bobby Green. Font versus Davison Figueiredo. And you haven't even got to the main event at that point. That's crazy. That's some crazy quality on this card. Starting off with Veronica Hardy, that's Dan Hardy's wife, against Jamie Lynn Horth. So 5'4", plays 5'7" with 3-inch reach for Horth. Now Lady V, she's someone I'm a huge fan of, if I'm honest. She's on Dan Hardy's podcast. She does the fight picks with him. They go through the whole card. Takes a lot longer though. They'll require a lot more of your time than I will, just FYI. But it's really good. I'd thoroughly recommend that you check it out. It's a good podcast. Anyway, she's really insightful. She's got a great way about it. She knows fights inside and out. She's had slightly less success inside the octagon. All in all, she's got 4 losses. She's come into the UFC. She's only won 2 in her last 7, right? But momentum is a thing, and she did look great against Miller in her last fight. She looked really, really good. She's a good all-rounder. She does have a very dangerous armbar. Largely speaking, if she's going for submission, she's looking for a limb. Horth is the undefeated Canadian, undefeated but only 1 fight in the UFC. She has got decent kicks on her though. For me, it's definitely biased, but I'm going to pick Lady V in this one, just because she has much more UFC experience, and win or loss, look, you learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. So, look, Lady V's just had more kind of high-level experience, in my opinion, so I'll go with Lady V. Yeah, Veronica Hardy in that one. Wellington Turman then takes on Jared Gooden, 170 pounders, welterweights. You've got 6 foot playing 6 foot, 5'5" reach for Gooden. Now Turman's an absolute killer. I'm surprised to see him so low on the card, honestly, but it is a very, very good card. It's hard to get high up on this card. He's good. He's a great submission guy, very high level submission guy. Some fighters can get wise to it, like we saw that with Randy Brown. He was just too wise to his tricks and just kind of battered him. His armbar win over Serkinov is an excellent example of what he can do when things go right for him. Gooden is a lump of a man. He's built like an absolute monster. He has fear tattooed on his chest. So he really does have all the elements of what I look for in an MMA fighter, honestly. He's got heavy hands. He's got 50% of his wins by knockout. He's a brown belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, the reason I mentioned the brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for Gooden is that he clearly knows what to do on the ground, and that could be a problem for Turman, because he might not necessarily be as good as Turman on the ground, but he may know enough just to negate what Turman tries to do. And he's, like I said, he's a big lump. He's got heavy hands. I'm gonna say that Gooden's gonna take that one. That's my pick. Rodolfo Bellato, 11-2, taking on Ihor Poteria, 20-4. You've got 205 pounders. The light heavyweight, 6'3", plays 6'3" with a half-inch reach for Bellato. Now Bellato is an absolute killer out of Brazil. He's got 11 wins. 10 of those are by way of finish. He does not mess around. He really doesn't. I haven't seen much of him in the UFC, but in the LFA he got a great knee and then he TK'd the guy on the ground. He's a big man. He's patient. He throws with a lot of power. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is brilliant as well. Oh, one of his losses, not for nothing, is against that Vitor Pretoria, that other Brazilian kickboxer guy who's just an absolute monster. So, you know, no shame in there. So now Ihor, he had the horrible job of putting down Shogun Rua. Like he had Shogun Rua's last fight, which he looked really good in, but Shogun Rua wasn't Shogun Rua by that point, if we're totally honest. And then he got fed to Carlos Olberg, who's that monster kickboxer out of City Kickboxing, and he's really good. So I think Poteria, he's got really good hands, but up against monsters, he tends to come unstuck. And Bellato is a monster, so I'm taking Bellato by KO for me. That one could well be fight of the night, though. Earmark that one. Rodolfo Bellato versus Ihor Poteria. Fight of the night. That's my pick. Steve Garcia taking on Melquiziel Costa out of Brazil. You've got 145 pounders, 6 foot, plays 5'10", 4-inch reach for Garcia. Now Garcia is an absolute killer. He's got 11 wins, 11 knockouts. He got Chase Hooper as well. Look, he's got great boxing and he's got some nice kicks as well, especially the body kicks. The body kicks are generally what sets him apart. He covers a lot of range with those. Costa is very well rounded. He's probably not quite as good on the feet as Garcia, but I would give him the advantage in the grappling. So for me, it just depends where this one goes. Every fight starts standing, every round starts standing. Garcia is monstrous on the feet, so I'm taking Garcia by knockout for me. That's what I'm going with. Then you've got Dakar Close taking on Joe Selecki in the 155-pound division. 5'9", plays 5'9" with a half-inch reach for Selecki. Now, Dakar Close, or as I like to call him, Luis J. Gomez with hair. Look at that guy. That is Luis J. Gomez with hair. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you know who Luis J. Gomez is, come on. I'm not wrong there. Anyway. He's really good. He's got solid fight. He's a solid fighter. He's got very, very good hands. He's got a lot of power. He's dangerous. Joe Selecki, he's got very good submissions. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very good at taking the back. His back takes are very, very good. Striking is okay, but his bread and butter is the grappling. For me, I'm going to go Dakar Close. I think he's going to be too big and too kind of solid to really for Selecki to get to the ground in order to implement his game plan. I think that on the feet, Dakar Close probably has the advantage in boxing range at least. Zachary Reese, 6-0, taking on Cody Brundage, 9'5", 185 pounds, middleweights. So you've got 6'4", playing 6 foot with a 5-inch reach for Reese. Now Reese is an absolute killer, 6-0, all finishes, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, one of which was that armbar in the Dana White Contender Series. That I do remember that one because I do watch that show. Cody Brundage, it feels like he's been around forever. I don't know why that is. I think I must be confusing him with a different Brundage somewhere along the line. Anyway, he is a good test for a debut guy. He's well rounded. He's got good finishing ability. He does, especially on the ground and on the feet. Now I'm not betting against an undefeated guy though, so I'm taking the knockout for Reese in that one. Misha Tate then headlines the prelims, taking on Julia Avila, 135-pound ladies. So you've got 5'6", playing 5'7", with a 3-inch reach for Avila. Now Misha Tate we know well. She's a pioneer of women's MMA. She had a great rivalry with Ronda Rousey, and then she won the belt from Holly Holm with that, rear naked choke, from a snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. She was then dethroned by Amanda Nunes. I was there for that one at UFC 200, and then Nunes basically held the belt until then. That's how long Nunes was champion, by the way. Like UFC 200 was when she won that in 2016. That's absolutely insane. So look, she's a good all-rounder. She's got good wrestling, good strikes. She's not, I mean, she is elite, obviously, but she's not like kind of like top level in any one of those areas, but she is very, very high level in every area, if that makes sense. Avila, I don't know a lot about her, honestly. She's new to the UFC. She's coming off a submission win. She clearly has skills, but she doesn't, is she a world beater? Probably not. But does she have to be a world beater? No. She just has to be better than Misha Tate. And honestly, at this point in her career, I'm not sure how much Misha Tate has left. I really don't. She hasn't looked good since her comeback. I think I'd lean towards Avila in that one. So this is going to be the main card. If do me a favour, just hit subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I do videos on other sports as well. NFL fantasy and mixed martial arts, that's mostly my bag. I do dabble in some TV show reviews, things like that. Just basically whatever is in my head. That's what is in the Burt locker. Do you know what I mean? It's generally brought to you from a comedic kind of standpoint, just because I do stand-up comedy as well. Yeah, I try and do anything that I'm kind of passionate about. So there's a lot of good content on there, so hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. So you've got the main card. You've got Punahele Soriano taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. You've got 185 pounders middleweight. So you've got 5'11", playing 6 foot with a 2.5 inch for Stoltzfus. Soriano started well, but then he ran into Brandon Allen. He then drew Kopylov. So look, he's had some tough outings. Neither of those losses are anything to be ashamed of. He's a fairly solid, if unspectacular fighter. He's won 1 of his last 4, and that one was against Lugion Bola, the gas man, I like to call him, because he gasses out real easy. Then you've got Stoltzfus. He's had a rough couple of years, honestly. He seems to just get caught in submissions late in fights when he loses energy. He's a solid striker though. His wrestling is pretty good. He did get a twister in the regionals, which is a difficult submission to get. Coin toss on this one. I'll take Stoltzfus. Clay Guida taking on Joaquim Silva. This is going to be a crazy fight. It must be in the lightweight division. So you've got 5'7", playing 5'8", 1 inch reach for Guida. Now Clay, we all know at this point, just a ball of energy, great wrestling, excellent grips, excellent chokes, tough as all hell. That's Clay Guida in a nutshell. And you've got his opponent is big and powerful from 155. He's got good striking. He's on a rough run of form. He's won 2 in his last 6. He really isn't like a world beater. But again, do you have to be to beat Clay Guida at this point in his career? With all respect to Clay Guida, I'm a huge fan of his, but he's not a spring chicken anymore. I do like Guida in this one though. I think that he still looks like he fights the same way he always has done. I quite fancy him to get the guillotine there, because I just think that I don't think that Silva's going to be able to keep up with the pace. Sean Brady then takes on Kelvin Gastelum. This is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. 170 pounds. So you've got Sean Brady. You've got 5'10", playing 5'9", with a 1/2 inch reach for Brady. Brady, he's only lost the 1 time. He was on a real hot streak. We haven't seen him in over a year since he got knocked out by Bilal Muhammad, which was a rough loss. So he's gone back. He's regathered himself. Brady, he's just so well rounded. He's one of those guys that people were really fearing in this division. And Gastelum, he's been fighting at middleweight for quite some time, but he started off in the 170 pound division. I believe that was the weight class that he was in at the Ultimate Fighter, where he beat Uriah Hall in the final. Everybody thought that Uriah Hall was going to be winning that competition, but Gastelum, he's gone on then to become a household name in MMA. Gastelum is just one of the best guys. He's had some absolutely legendary fights. You look at the fight with Adesanya, for example, just an absolute war. He's so good at getting into those scraps where it's going to war, a real dogfight. He's got fantastic wrestling. He's got brilliant boxing. His boxing has come on so far, like since you've seen him in the Ultimate Fighter to now. His boxing is night and day. His boxing's so dangerous. I feel like he has been having the problem of being slightly undersized at middleweight, and he's recommitted himself to welterweight. He can now make that weight without a problem. I see Gastelum having a very good run at welterweight here, and I want to see it more than anything. I'm taking Gastelum in that one. Rob Font then takes on Davison Figueiredo. 5'8", plays 5'5", with a 3.5 inch reach for Rob Font. Now, Font is an absolute brawler. He can grapple. He's one of those Boston tough guys. He's got very good hands, but he can sometimes fall behind on the scorecards if he doesn't find that knockout. Now, Figueiredo, we know him. He's the long-time flyweight champ. He's going up a weight class to start taking on the killers up there, because he was really struggling to make that weight at 125. He's got killer hands. He's got fantastic guillotine. He's got great submissions. This is going to be interesting to see how he looks when he's not killing himself to make that 125 pounds. Generally, when Font fights elite guys like your Aldos, your Sanhagens, he falls short. Figueiredo might be from the weight class below, but you better believe he is elite. I'm taking Figueiredo in that one. Then you've got the co-main event, Jalen Turner versus Bobby Green. This is a new opponent for Bobby Green at short notice because Dan Hooker was unable to make it. Now, Jalen Turner stepping in at short notice. The slight concern for me with Jalen Turner stepping in at short notice is that he really struggles to make that 155-pound weight cut. He looks so terrible after cutting weight because he's a monster for 155 pounds. What is he, like 6'3"? That's insane, right? Turner, he's got an excellent guillotine, great submissions. His kickboxing is sensational, and he's just very, very dangerous in every area, but he can get caught in dogfights. And as I say, I think that weight cut, it takes something out of him. It must do, because he looks awful. Now, Bobby Green has been on an absolute tear lately. I'll be totally honest, I did not think he would beat Grant Dawson, but he knocked him out in 30 seconds. Absolutely brilliant. Look, Bobby Green, he's got some of the best boxing in MMA. He really is fun to watch, but he's a little bit one-dimensional, is all I would say. So look, he's just not quite as technical as some of the guys. I'm going to take Jalen Turner to win this one. I think that Jalen Turner really wants to get back in the win column after losing to Mateusz Gamrot and to Dan Hooker, both of which are, they're both high-level guys, but he really wants to get one back in the win column and continue the momentum that he was on. Bobby Green, I think he's a little bit too one-dimensional for Turner. I think Turner's going to pick him apart with kicks, use his size, use his length, and then possibly initiate the grappling to grab hold of a neck and get a submission. Then you've got the main event of the evening. This is a huge fight. Ridiculous for a fight night, honestly. Beneil Dariush taking on Arman Tsarukyan. Now, you've got 5'10", playing 5'7", with a half-inch reach for Arman Tsarukyan. Dariush is ridiculously good. We all know this. He's been around forever. He's very competent in every single area. He does have power in his hands. He's got good kicks as well for finding range. Probably not as good a kicks as Tsarukyan's got. For me, Dariush obviously went on that 8-fight win streak, and then he ran into Charles Oliveira, got TKO'd in the first round. You've got to wonder what that's going to do to him mentally. He's really going to be looking to get that one back. Now, Arman Tsarukyan, he is the new breed, honestly. Like, this is very much an old guard versus new breed. My other concern, Beneil Dariush is 34, which is actually just entering his prime, honestly. I thought he was a little older than that. It feels like Beneil Dariush has been around for a lot longer than a 34-year-old could have been around. Do you know what I mean? So Tsarukyan on the other side is the opposite of that. He's the new guard. He's the new breed that's coming in. He's got fantastic kickboxing. His kicks, the way he brings up the left high kick, it almost with no telegraphing. He's so good at doing that. His bread and butter is his wrestling, though. His wrestling's at an elite level. He actually gave Islam Makhachev a really, really difficult fight, and that was Arman Tsarukyan's debut. Arman Tsarukyan, they gave him his debut fight was against Islam Makhachev. That's how much the UFC think of this guy. He is so goddamn good. So look, for me, as much as I do like Beneil Dariush, this comes down to the fact that I do think that Dariush is excellent in every area, but if I'm totally honest, I think that Tsarukyan's probably slightly better in every area. There's not really much in the way of size and reach that are kind of being given up here. I just think that Tsarukyan's gonna... The only thing we perhaps haven't seen is Tsarukyan did kind of fade a little bit against Mateusz Gamrot over 5 rounds. Now, we haven't really seen Beneil Dariush go the full 5 rounds, I don't think, anyway, but well, we do know that Beneil Dariush he's a real veteran. He's excellent at pacing himself. So we could see that, Beneil Dariush maybe just weathers the storm for the first 2 rounds and then he comes back and wins it over 5. I feel like if this goes to a decision, then it's going to be Beneil Dariush is going to win the decision, because I don't believe that Tsarukyan has ever gone the distance and won. I don't think he's ever won a 5-round decision. I think that's a pacing kind of issue, but Tsarukyan's so dangerous that he's going to go out there and do as much damage as he can in rounds 1 and 2. And if he can do enough damage to continue that momentum, he could probably... I'm not saying he can't win a decision, I'm saying he probably can, but he's probably more likely to get the finish. I think if this goes the distance, it's probably Beneil getting his hand raised. I think that if it's a finish, it's more likely it's going to be Tsarukyan that's done the finishing. I'm taking Tsarukyan by TKO in this one. I just feel like he's so good, and he's the new breed that's coming in, and Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting fight. I'm really looking forward to a lot of fights on this card. And I hope you enjoy the fights as well. I'll be doing some terrible bets on Saturday. And until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.